Welcome back to the shop. Well, sort of the shop. We're in the computer land now. So this project is the actual for real, making the branding iron for real in brass. And I thought I'd try to show you the process I go through in the CAD modeling stage as well as the CAM toolpathing stage. So we're using VCarve Pro, an excellent application for this. It does both the CAD stuff that I need and the CAM stuff that I need. It's fantastic for simple 2D CAD modeling. You can get pretty elaborate with it too. And then it does amazing work as a CAM app, which gets me my toolpaths. So we're just going to get started here with a new drawing. I'm going to start from scratch and walk through the entire process of drawing up the model for the branding iron. And I'm going to take one that you will see getting cut here in the shop shortly. So get ready for that. Okay, so we're in VCarve Pro. We start a new drawing here. Just start with create a new file. And in VCarve Pro, we're going to be working with some round stock. That intro bit you saw me doing the 3D, I kind of tricked the preview into showing me a circular piece of stock, but it actually works with square stock. So we're just going to start out with a 1-inch square. It won't really matter. You'll see when we go to actually machine it that having the corners of the square don't matter because the material is not that size or is not that shape. And we're just going to make our little panels show up nicely here. So there we've got our 1-inch square stock right now. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw ourselves a circle right there in the middle. And we want it to be 1 inch diameter, which is the delineation of our stock. This is basically giving us the dimensions of our material that we're going to start with. This is where we'll align everything. And the first thing I need to do is make this, you saw in the intro that the text has sort of follows the radius or the outside edge of the curve. It's curved text. And in order to do that with two lines of text, we need two separate hemispheres of the circle, two halves of the circle. So I'm going to go into node edit mode, and that's by hitting the N key in VCarve Pro. There's also probably a menu or something like that. I don't know. I always know the keyboard shortcuts better than anything else. So I'm going to hover my mouse over this block. You see where my mouse is here. We're going to hover my mouse over this block until it goes to crosshairs. Hit the letter C, and that will cut it. You see the block turned green. I'm going to go over here. We're going to cut this vector over here as well in this spot. And then you'll see, I got to hit the C properly here. Hit the right key. Yeah, I did. Okay, so now I hit escape and I can just select the top half. You'll see it turns pink only the top half, and I can select the bottom half and it only turns pink on the bottom half. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to put some text on here. And we'll start with the Palatino linotype RT in the center, so RT, and that dimension is 0.27 inches. Just don't worry about the numbers. This is showing you what it will do, less about what you end up doing when you actually make it. And then doing a small offset on the Y here so that it puts it centered better between the text. And that is minus 0.1342. And that's just to get text, and I just hit enter to apply. So that just gets us text in the vertical orientation that I would like it to be in. Okay, so one of the things I'm doing here is I design it in the view of the pattern that I want it to burn. Very important that you remember to reverse the pattern at the end. There's a point where it's done. When you're done drawing it, you can reverse it. Then we'll do the toolpaths. You'll definitely want it inverted before you do your toolpaths, because otherwise you will cut out this shape and not the inverted shape that will leave this shape when it burns. Just a tip. Don't ask me how I know why that's important. Anyway, so we have our RT in place now. We're going to deselect it and we're going to put some more text in here. And this will be the woodland, which is Malgan Gothic, and it's 0.14 inches tall, and that's woodland, which is all caps. No offset. We'll just apply that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to do the turnings one as well, because it's the same dimensions, and we'll just put that. Oh wait, hold on. We're going to do woodland first. Apply it, deselect, and then do turnings. I'll just put turnings in there too while I'm at it. It's not a big deal where it is right now because it will get moved shortly. Okay, so let's start with woodland. And let's align this text to the curve, which I believe is this one here. And it says, pick a single line of text, which we've got, and then pick the line you want to wrap it to. We've got that now. So it takes a little playing, and I can never remember which, so I usually just apply it, and I see what it does, and you can see our W is upside down. So I need to do text on the other side and put it below the curve. There we go. Now we've got woodland in the right place. You'll see that the letters are all very scrunched together right now. And what we want to do is get them spaced out further. So I'm going to increase the spacing as much as possible. And then I'll go in and adjust the individual letter spacing as well. So I've got that applied. And I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to go and play with the text spacing. And it just takes a couple of clicks. And we'll just spread some stuff out here. Excuse me, that turnings is very annoying and distracting. I'm going to get rid of it for a second here. Just move it down here out of the way. Go back to this. And we'll just increase. I'm holding the shift down to increase the space. And I'm just clicking between letters to get it to spread just nicely enough. This doesn't look terrible for my liking. We'll try maybe go a little, ooh, that's too much. Maybe like that. Maybe there. Yeah, I think I can live with that. And so we're just getting it spaced out so that the letters are visible. You want just enough space so that you can make, I'm going to make these a little further apart. You want just a little more space than you think you need because you got to get a V-grooving bit down in there. And it's really got, tight quarters. So that is looking closer. I'm going to throw a little bit more space there. I think this will do right here. So I'm going to call that one done. We're going to do the turnings one next. We're going to get that aligned to the curve. So first we selected it just by clicking on it. I don't actually need to do that. We'll shift and click the line we want it to align to. And really all we want to do is just have it zip along the bottom of that line. So I'm going to see what this does. I think we're on the outside. So let's go above the curve. There we go. And then we'll increase the spacing so it saves us a little bit of time. And we can close that. And then we can do our gaps between them here to get this to work out. To get the letter spacing to be a little more realistic. So we'll pick our text. And that one needs, oop, we're going the wrong way for control. There we go. And just get some big gaps. Control Shift puts big gaps. Just Shift puts small gaps. I need some pretty good sized gaps here. Do that here, this. And every time you change one, you see sort of are changing the other. You're changing the other letters, so you kind of, and when you change one, you sort of have to go back and see what that did to the rest of them. And just try to get that kerning, it's called kerning, try to get that to, a reasonable look there. I think we're good with that. I'm going to call that done. Okay, and that is essentially the drawing part of this. We need a couple more circles to help us with our toolpaths, but this is basically the drawing. So we're ready now to invert everything before we do the toolpathing. So I'm just going to grab everything by hitting Control A, and then I'm going to hit the Mirror Selected Objects button. I guess I have to Control A after I do that. We'll do Flip Horizontal and make sure we flip about the job center. There we go, everything's backwards now. This ensures that all of the cuts will actually burn a pattern that is oriented correctly. Okay. So next up, we're going to start drawing a couple of pieces of geometry, a few more lines that we need for helping us make our toolpaths. And we're going to do that by just going by memory of what I had actually drawn out before. So what you actually have to do is, in order for the toolpaths to work out right, you're going to cut this out with a V-grooving bit. And there's two tasks we want to make sure I cover. The whys I've done this is, the first one is that the V-bit will leave a fillet around the outer edge if you don't do this step. If you just use this as your outer edge line, if you use these as your boundaries, it'll actually leave like this lip around the outer edge, because the V-bit will go between this line, say, and this line here. And so it's going to send the V-bit so the tip is between them, not out that far. So what you're wanting to do is make it so that this area is flat, or that the bit goes out far enough. So the whole idea is to just make sure that the center of the bit goes out beyond the outer edge, so that it will cut it all away and not leave a little fillet behind, or a little fillet, a little flip behind. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a couple more circles, and I had to do this with some trial and error rather than these numbers I'm going to give you right now. They are 1.08, and this has a lot to do with how deep your cut's going to be, and how deep the V groove is going to be, and sort of the angle of the bit. So if it's a 60-degree bit and you're going to cut a 1/16 of an inch deep, you got to do a little geometry to make sure you get how large of a center point, or how wide of a offset you want, so that the center point falls just outside of your material. This isn't a really big deal, but it works really well so that you can have, you know, a nice smooth surface without any weird little barbs sticking up, I guess, is the best way I can describe that. And then we're going to draw one more, and that one is helpful for our roughing coverage, the roughing toolpath, so we can surface the whole thing. And that one happens to run at 1.24 inches. Also about the center. Oh, I forgot to, we'll do it like this. We'll do 1.24, and then we'll just click in the middle where we want it, and it'll draw a second line. Okay, this is all the geometry that we need to make a branding iron, or to make this into a branding iron. I'll zoom out here for you real quick. Now, the next thing we're going to do is get set up to do our toolpaths. So I'll show you that here momentarily. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, when I put the piece of material in the vise, I need to flatten that top surface so that we're working, first, that the part is aligned axially vertical to in parallel with the z-axis of the CNC. Then when I flatten the top surface, I need to flatten that top round surface so that I've got a perpendicular surface to the axis of the round bit. This helps cut things right. This helps get our depths good. It definitely helps to have it flattened. And we're not going to take a ton off here. We're going to do a very light roughing toolpath or a very light flattening toolpath. So we're going to start out by selecting that large outer circle as our main bounding geometry, and we're going to do a pocket toolpath. We're going to cut down 1/10 of an inch, so 10/1000ths of an inch is all we're going to do. And on my machine, these numbers here, from here on out, feeds and speeds, you're going to rely on your own machine for this. For my machine in cutting brass, I had no problem with it running a 1/8 inch diameter bit end mill at 2/10 per pass, so it's half of what we're doing, so it's well within. And our step over is 15 thou, because that gives me a decent enough chip load that it's going to, cut a big enough tooth. Each tooth will cut enough material away. On my machine, as far as rigidity goes, I go at 30 inches per minute. I can speed it up in Mach 3 if I need to, but for now, this works okay. I'm getting decent results with these speeds. I could probably speed it up for brass, but these work, and the cut won't take very long anyway. So that is the cutting parameter for this flattening toolpath. The only other thing I do to this, I leave everything else pretty much default. I have an offset. I don't use a larger area clearance tool. I use the 1/8 inch bit for this. The idea is I just don't want to have to change the collets over and over if I can avoid it. And so then we'll do the offset, and we'll do a conventional cut, and I do ramp the plunge moves a 1/2 inch. That's just, on my machine, the end mills are center cutting, but they do better at plunging if you ramp them a little bit. And so we're just going to call this the flatten toolpath. And we're using an 1/8 inch diameter end mill with 2 flutes. I'm going to use the exact same one for the roughing toolpath for the V-carve, but you'll see that in a minute. So then we're just going to calculate, and obviously that's just going to be a spiral. And that part, that's our flattening toolpath. That's all we are needing for the flattening. Okay, so now that the flattening is done, we'll select the vectors we want to do a V-groove toolpath for. That's going to be all of the text and this outer circle, the center middle circle. These vectors will take care of the V-carving toolpath. And the reason the main reason we have this outer circle is to get the V-groove toolpath to cut outside the letters rather than inside the letters. We want to leave behind the letters, not cut away the letters. So we're just going to come over here and we're going to select a V-carving toolpath. And then we're going to choose a start depth of 0.01 because we took 10 thou from our with our flattening cut. And the reason we do this is so that I don't have to re-zero for the roughing, because I'm going to use the same end mill for the flattening as I am for roughing out this V-carving toolpath. And so the roughing toolpath, oh, and also our flat depth is 0.06. That is the deepest valley that will happen. Anywhere that goes beyond, anywhere that the V-carving bit won't cut on both sides, it does a flat spot there. So basically it does a floor of the valley. If we didn't have a flat depth, the V-carving toolpaths would try to plunge the V-bit as deep as possible to get this line and this line cut by the same cutter, or this line and this line. So as it's moving the bit through, it'll change its depth based on the distance apart from lines, and we don't want that. We want it to go as deep as it possibly can, up to 0.06 inches of depth. You'll see more about that. You saw it a little bit in the preview. I'll point out the flat spots as well. And then because of that, we don't have to cut the whole thing with the V-carving tool, with the V-bit. We can use a flat area bit, a regular old end mill, to rough out some of these larger areas so that the V-groove bit doesn't have to do as much. Okay, so that's those things, and I'm going to point out the feeds and speeds here again, but I want to mention again once more that these are for my machine and my comfort level, and what works for me, what gets me good results. I can probably change some of this, especially when working in brass. Brass machine's a lot easier, and it works really well. So I could probably go even faster, and I could probably go even heavier on the cuts. But for now, these work just fine. Pay no attention to the RPMs. I don't have a CNC controlled speed on my spindle yet. Someday, maybe when I get a real spindle. But so that's the feed and speed recipe for the V-carving bit. We also tell it use a flat area clearance tool, which is the same, like I said, just the same 1/8 inch end mill from before, from the flattening toolpath. I'm going to use the exact same bit. This way I can just keep that in there. In fact, we can just run both of those toolpaths together. I'll show you that in a second. So that's the same cut recipe there. We're doing it as an offset, which will make it follow the lines. And we're doing some ramping again. We're going to ramp those plunge moves at, and we're doing a conventional cut. And we're going to ramp those plunge moves at half an inch. So those are mostly going to be for the 1/8 inch roughing toolpath. The V-carving bit's going to still do what it needs to do. And then that is really it. So we're going to call that the V-carving toolpath, and I'm going to have it calculate that. So let that run here for a second, and you'll see we've got a bunch of, this is where the V-carving tool will be, this is where the roughing tool will go, so these little circles, and I'm going to call that those things. And now that, honestly, that's it. We're done toolpathing. We've got basically 3 toolpaths. It's the flatten, the pocket for roughing out the V-carving, and then the actual V-carving. And you can see with the icons here which tool they're using. So I'm going to set it up to run the preview so you can see what this is doing. And I'm going to forego the flatten toolpath. You don't really care about that, but actually that's a fast one. So we're just going to switch over and get ready to preview this toolpath. Okay, so now we're set to preview our toolpaths, and the first one we're going to do, I'm just going to do these one at a time. So the first one we're going to do is the flattening toolpath, which is exactly as it seems, just make a big spiral, cut out a flat spot. So we're just going to let that run. I'm going to animate it so maybe it will record it. We'll see what happens. And away it goes. Okay, so that toolpath is now cleared and cut, and we'll just save that with this toolpath. This is going to cut all the rough areas that an 1/8 inch end mill can reach within the area, within the, what am I trying to say? Within between the letters and things, so that it's going to rough out the stock before the V carving toolpath has to run. Alright, and now we're going to VCarve. So we're going to preview the VCarve toolpath. You can see the strata that the roughing for the VCarve did with the 1/8 inch end mill, so that's all just stuff now that the V-carving bit doesn't have to cut away. So it saves a little bit of time. So now we're going to run this V-carving toolpath and it'll cut the rest. So this one will take a little bit and I'll probably speed it up, but we'll try to give you a decent view of everything going on here. Okay, so you can see it's been been cut out, and you can kind of get this preview sort of sense of what it is going to end up looking like when it's actually cut in metal. You see here these angled walls along the sides. That is exactly the thing we were talking about and why we wanted that offset. If I didn't have that, if we'd have put it at the material size, it would have cut about half as deep and left this weird little shelf on this side. So this lets it cut deep enough so that it's all the way up to the edge. You can actually have features that go right up to the edge, basically, and the V-carve will cut them where they need to be. So that's pretty much it. You can kind of sense what it's going to look like. As you can see, I didn't do the goofy little UI trick for making the preview show that it was round stock, but it's basically the same thing you saw in the intro to this. And so now all we're going to do is take it over to the machine, and I'll show you how I save out the toolpaths. So we're going to go back. I'm going to just real quickly jump back to the 2D view because this makes more sense for my brain. So I'm going to turn on the flatten and the V-carve. Those are the two I'm going to save first because they both use the same bit. They use the same cutter, end mill 1.25 inch or 0.125 inch. So those two can be run together, which means they'll run sequentially. They'll run together basically. They'll run right after the other. It'll run the flatten first, and then it'll run the V-carve roughing first or second. It'll run the flatten first, then the roughing second. Basically, that just lets me put it in one single G-code file that I can bring into Mach 3 and run without any trouble. I'll bring in some G-code into Mach 3. I think I can make that screen work. We'll see what I can do about the screen sizes here. And then so that one, and then we'll go and we'll uncheck these and we'll check this one for the V-carving, and that just gets saved to another cutter or another G-code file, and save that, and we run those to Mach 3 and just run that after we've run the first one. It's very simple. It's very easy to do. That is all there really is to the CAD and CAM process. The rest of it is just getting your machine set up, getting the 0 point figured out, getting the Z0 perfect so that it's right on top of it, and a little bit of fixturing, which you'll see. You've already seen it once because I did it with the aluminum, but we'll do it for real in brass next. So stay tuned. Let's go out to the shop. Good morning. Welcome back to the shop. This is the second go at branding irons, and I'm gonna do one more test in aluminum, but I think I've got it. I just want to do one more quick check in aluminum to make sure everything cuts the right way. I got a new V cutting bit, so you're gonna see that shortly. But I'm set up right now. I've just got everything back in the vise. I turned and faced off the last test, and we're just gonna cut one more quick test in the aluminum, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna be fine. It's gonna work out just fine. In the meantime, while this is running, I'm going to clean up the shop and get ready to do it in brass as well. So this is just quick one more test in aluminum to make sure that the toolpath is right and that the cutting parameters will work. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one going. The first step is is flattening the top and roughing out the V-carving real quick. So that's all done with an 1/8 inch end mill. And then we'll switch to the V-bit and we'll cut the actual profile. So it's going to be a little bit of slow time, or boring-ish, I don't know. It's not that boring to me. I think it's interesting. But anyway, we're going to get this going, and I'll bring you back when it's finished. Alright, well, that was the roughing stage. Now we'll change out the bit, change our cutter out for the V cutter, and get that going. I'm going to leave it run. You can see the whole process here. It was normal speed, so you can get a sense of just how much time this actually does. Got to switch out the collet because my V's are 1/4 inch. This nice white side 1/4 inch V cutting diameter V-bit 60-degree V cutter. Looks like that. You can see it. Pretty neat looking. We'll see if it's what I need. It's got a very sharp point, and we'll have to zero as well somewhere. Forgot about that little bit, but that's all right. Zero this Z out. Slip the paper out. Go with right there as my zero. Feels good. Go down 3, maybe 4. 3. Zero that. Page up. Go to 0. Close this G code. See how quick that is? And we're ready now to start the V-carving toolpath. Alright, that wasn't too bad. We are at the limit of our testing on this piece of aluminum, however. It has cut through and exposed the hole that I threaded. Let's get this out of the vise and have a look at it. It looks like it's going to be fine. I think it's perfect, actually. I think it looks good. It means I am confident in the... what am I trying to say? I have confidence in the new cutter working well, and it's going to be even better in brass. There's a lot of little dust in it, but yeah, that looks really, really good to me. I'm going to try to get in there and get you a decent shot of it here. I'm not sure you'll be able to see very well. Yeah, hold on. Let's try some focus. Look at that. Pretty neat, eh? so it's also reversed properly. So I'm going to heat this thing up and give it a look at it, see how it brands, and then I think I'm ready to throw the brass in and give it a go. Yeah, that came out pretty good. Let's get it. I'm gonna throw a torch on it and see how it burns wood. All right, heated it up, got some brands going. This one looks really good when I got it nice and hot. Maybe a little too hot, but then I sanded it and I think that one looks pretty good. This one's not bad. I just got to press just the right. I was pressing it with my hand, so it wasn't pressing the right way, but I wasn't getting an even pressure. And the aluminum cools off so fast, so it took a couple of tries. But yeah, I think that's going to do just fine. I think Roger will like this. I think it's time to do this in brass now. Give this little bugger a go in some decent metal. Be right back. Okay, so we've got a bit of brass chucked up in the lathe now, and we're going to do that thing with brass for real this time. So just going to face this flat. It's a little bit off. My bandsaw does not cut square. It's squarer than it used to though. I did address some of this. Gradually face off a little bit just to get a nice flat face, and then I'm going to drill and tap for the shaft that will be used as a handle. This doesn't take too much time. Just get it nice and flat. You know, nothing fancy here. One more I think will do it. How are we? Yep, we're clean. Now I'm going to chamfer that before I take it out. Well, I'm going to leave it in anyway, but I'm going to chamfer it now. I love filing brass. Brass files so gingerly. Oh, we got to get a little bit. Let's take a little more handle here. There we go. Just keep it safe. Okay, now we're going to pull the tailstock up here and drill and tap. I think we'll go with a 1/4 inch hole like we did the last time on the aluminum. Bear with me here. I'm getting my lathe back together with my tailstock there, and just get ready to center drill here. Don't mind me. I'm gonna have this. Might not be a great shot here coming up, but I'm gonna leave us like this for now. All right, center drill time. Yeah, it's probably a bad shot for you guys. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm gonna do a little repositioning here. Okay, that's a better shot for you, I think. We'll just first we'll center drill this, spot it. That'll be enough. And then I'll swap out for a larger drill bit here. As soon as I get my larger drill bit out, and we'll get ready to run a tap down this. So 1 second. All right. Tap drill is a 201 thou, but 1364 is just 203 thou, and I'm okay with it being a little bit of a light thread. Doesn't bother me at all. So we're doing a 1364 because that's what I have over here, and I know it's sharp. So get that, and now we want to make sure we don't go We want to make sure we don't go super deep here, but we want to make sure we go deep enough. We want to have a few threads in there engaged. So, all right. I think that was the one. That was my 0 right there. Let's see if I can. My scale is in a weird spot here, so that's more like a 1/4 inch. Right about there. That should be enough to get a tap into. And a countersink, just Just a little one here. There's nothing to it. Okay, I've got a spiral tap in the chuck now, and I'm just going to do this by hand. Disengage all of my speeds here and just give it a brass tap. Super easy and cut. So this is just a spiral tap to get it started. Spiral tap. And just go as deep until it bottoms itself out, and then I'm going to put a bottoming tap in to finish it off. Saw it spin there for a second. Reverse our set of free. Oh, hey, that helps if you engage. Okay, that one's a good clean thread. I'm gonna switch out to the bottomer now and make a nice clean bottoming hole here. Just get her started nicely here. We gotta be careful now. It's just a bottoming thread. It will cut its own because it's got a sharp edge. So, there we go. Bring it on down as far as I can get to it. Oh, we should probably tighten that thing, huh? There we go. And we'll take our chuck and just get a couple more finishing threads in there. That'll do. Back it on out. Okay, so we've got ourselves tapped now for a nice 1/4 inch hole. And to prove it, we'll take our 1/4-20 bolt. It's nice and snug actually, I like it. That's going to hold very well. Alright, now I'm going to flip it around. Now I'm going to take it out and I'm going to turn a steel slug to use as a handle, and we'll do that next. Alright, now we've got steel in here, a little bit of 1/2 inch steel, just cold rolled, nothing fancy. I'm just going to turn the face on this, and then we'll turn it down to a 1/4 inch diameter and get ready to run some threads on it. And my cutting fluids here. Does not seem to be too rigid right now. A difficult interrupted cut for a lightweight lathe. One more quick pass here. A little more love. Okay, that's flat enough. I'm going to do a quick short turning of down to a 1/4 inch, and then we'll single point these. So we're at 220. That should be more than enough to get a die to start. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to face this front edge nicely. Take our power feed off here. Just make this as nice as I can here. Give it a nice firm, good seat. A little dish right now. Calling that pretty good. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to put a really heavy chamfer on that so I can get my die on. And I'll bring you back here. I'm going to grab the chamfer real fast. Do the chamfer really quick so that you can watch that. File a chamfer on there real quick. Really exaggerated chamfer too. I want it very shallow. Give that die every chance in the world to succeed here. Even if that means I've got to face off some of this after the threads are on it, that's fine. That is a fairly elaborate chamfer. Normally you wouldn't have to do that, but cheap, shitty dies, I really, really don't want to have to single point this. But if I have to, I will do so. We're going to real quick, I think I might as well chamfer that leader here. Real smooth, nicely. And okay, I'm going to go get the die and get set up for that. Okay, got a tap, or a die. I'm not a fan of this die, I must say. But it's the one I have, so I'm going to bring up my tailstocks on here. What the heck happened to that? It's all cattywampus here. I'll tighten it. There we go. And just use the tailstock to put a little pressure. I'm using my cross slide to be my anchor. Chuck key goes in the chuck, and I just turn and apply some pressure. And hopefully we get things to start. Throw in a little mess so that it can try to cut nice here. I think we've got ourselves a good start. Let's see. Get it backed out. Good. And I don't know if you're going to see it yet, but there's some decent threads in there. I'm surprised that the cheap crappy die did a good job. It did though. That chamfer though, alright. So now we're going to pull this out some and start making that shank pretty. Next step is I'm going to pull this out and cut it off to, well actually no, I'm not going to cut it off to the length. I'm going to pull it all the way out as far as I dare. And I'm going to clean up I'm not going to do any turning to this, I'm just going to clean it up. Somewhere over here is a strip of this stuff. Yeah, I'm just going to clean up this surface so it looks pretty. Okay, then take this quickly over to the bandsaw and slice off a piece. You know what, I can wait. No, I'm going to slice off a piece and then turn and face the other end. Then we'll bring it back. Okay, we're spun around now here. Got it cut off, got that extra scrap bits cut off. All I'm going to do here, I'm going to grip it fairly lightly because I don't want to mar up the freshly polished surface, or not polished, but fresh surface. And we're just going to lock in, come out, take care of this interrupted cut real quick. That feels nice. Okay, now we'll flip it back around one more time, and this is the concentric with the world game here we're doing now. So I want it fairly clean because Roger's going to put this in the tailstock of his wood lathe. Boy, and then use that as his branding press, basically. Let's cleaning off the jaws a little bit so that there's less crud down in there. Now we flip this around. And I give it a little, I'll bring it as little stick out as I can here. And then as I tighten, I turn it a little bit. And it helps seat everything nicely. There we go. Now we put our brass on here, and this is basically our jamming chuck for that brass. We switch this insert out again for a brass one, and just going to face this end off a little bit. All right, just a simple facing operation here. Now we've got our insert in. I'm just going to lock us down, bring us back a little. The reason we do this now and not sooner is because now it's mounted to the thing that is going to be the reference point for it. And so I wanted it to be mounted to the thing that is the concentric shape. I didn't want it to be a guess at concentricity. That way the flatness will be perpendicular to that shaft, perpendicular to the axis. So there's an axis this way. I want this face to be perfectly perpendicular all the way around to the axis of the shaft. And because there was a big large chamfer on the end of the bar stock I cut this from, I'm taking a little bit more than I might want to normally, but I'll leave enough for sure. And I want an inch of surface. I think I might turn this outside edge too, just to make it as pretty as I dare. Alright, second verse same as the first. This time we're doing it in brass for real this time. And the first bit is the flatten and the roughen. The flatten and the roughen. Flatten and the roughing. I could probably forego the flattening phase, but I like to do it so that the crests of all of the V's are good. So we're gonna go ahead and run this now. Alright, well, we have the V-bit in, the roughing pass went well. The brass, obviously, brass just machined awesome, so you probably couldn't hear that. I was swinging this around. So we got the tools, got the roughing cut done, and we got the V-bit in now. We're ready to do the final V-cut. Brass just machines amazingly, so I'm happy to machine brass anytime. I think it's a lot of fun. It looks great. So we're going to give this a go. This is the final cut of the V-carving. So hopefully by the time this is done, you'll see a nice branding iron at the end. All right, here we go. Alright, it's done, so let's take a look. It looks like it's going to be fine. Looks pretty good from this moment. Yeah, it looks great. Let's get the machine out of my way here. It's pretty dusty at the moment, but just... Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I like it. Alright, I'm going to get you some good pictures here, but for now, you'll see that... Oh, shit. Nope, we have a problem. We have to remake this part. So, that little hole I thought was going to be no problem turned out to be a problem. The R is bent and broke. So, shit. We've got to turn a new piece of brass. Damn it. I should have done it the right way to begin with. I should have remade it before, but Alright, that just means we've got to do this one more time. That's all. So I'm going to pop this one off, cut a new one, make it again, and then I'll show you the final piece now.